This presentation, we are going to discuss predominantly the scientific basis of meditation. To be truthful, you can apply this presentation or principles to any marga or any subset of meditation like Buddhism or Taoism or transcendental meditation, anything. Because end of the day, we all will agree that the principle of meditation will be the same. It's only the flavor and advantage and methodology has some differences. As Balachandra sir said, I am a very odious practitioner of sky exercises and sky meditations. I had a wonderful opportunity and blessing of serving Maharishi, and not only as a discipline and also as a doctor. And I had the opportunity to be with him, touch him, and get the blessings, etc., which really revoked a good amount of spiritual experience and a kind of clarity in my mind. My approach to any of the sky principles is how it works. What is the science behind it? I've done this kind of presentations on what is the scientific basis behind Kaya Kalpa. We had a 2-day seminar and I had a wonderful opportunity to meet Balachandraya and other eminent people. I also have good presentations on how our eye exercises work, what is the science behind our stretch and neuromuscular exercises, etc. The importance in knowing the science is it will make you to do these sky practices in a much more punctual and very periodic manner. And it's the only way we can take these practices to the next generation. The next generation, the digital world, will not accept if we say that this is good, please do. We need to prove them with good amount of scientific evidence. So in this presentation, we are going to concentrate a little bit on what is the difference between meditation and mindfulness, and what are the brain waves and how the anatomical surface of the brain is correlated to the brain waves, how actually the meditation work, what is the research behind it, how we can apply it practically during our practice, and a bit of discussion on any questions if arises. As Sir said, I am a postgraduate tutor for Royal College of Edinburgh and Queen Elizabeth Hospital. This is the present hospital where I work. It's a multi-billion hospital with, I will say, almost all the facilities available, including the facility to meditate, yoga, and do research on it in a very spectacular, modern, research-based manner. I'm not showing this just because of me being a doctor. I'm showing this because of its background in supporting the yoga-related researches. I'm a postgraduate tutor for the Royal College of England, and I teach as assistant professor in Aston Medical School and Birmingham University. And this is a place known as Dhammadeepa. It is like 1 hour drive from my home in Birmingham in England, Herefordshire, completely devoted for meditation. In this whole campus with the green lush place, it always reminds me of our Aliyar. Especially this round dome reminds me of Maharishi's place in our Aliyar campus. Only one thing happens in this whole place is meditation, meditation, meditation. I had the opportunity to have a 10 days retreat, and the whole 10 days we did wake up, meditation, eat, sleep, repeat. Exactly the same. 10 days, no exposure to any digital platforms like telephone or news or anything like that. The meditators won't see each other eye to eye. We'll go to the dining hall, have food, facing against a wall, go to the meditation, eat, sleep. The reason why I'm mentioning this is this kind of very strenuous, deep meditative practice really gave me a very good idea about all the types of meditation what our Maharishi has taught us, what is the science behind it, and also it gave me a very good in-depth idea about the quite high-level meditative practices like samadhi, what is the science behind samadhi, why it happens, how it happens, if it happens, what to do, how we can get the best out of those kind of practices. So, meditation versus mindfulness. Mindfulness is a kind of a tailored meditation where we can practice it in our day to day life. Say, for example, I'm talking, I can talk and present this forum in a very mindful manner without getting distracted about the next commitments, what I have, what is happening in the evening, Sunday, etc. So, you can practice mindfulness in walking, driving, reading, studying, etc. While meditation is a touch high, where you really calm down your mental vibrations, and it has got very high capacity to improve the psychological capacity, attentional, and self regulation of emotion. It has multiple complex practices. Even our sky practice itself has got multiple practices. Everything has its own advantages, and every aspect covers a little bit of type of nerves and type of thought process. It is a kind of a non-judgmental approach. You can see in the Varth and the meditation what we did itself, it's non-judgmental. Even for the enemies, we try to give a compassionate spread of love and blessings. That is non-judgmental. Why meditation? Brain consists only 2% of our body weight, but it takes almost 20% of the metabolism and also 20% of the output from our heart. Our body is designed to keep this brain at the top notch so that that particular person will do well, will perform well in whatever, maybe a student studying or a researcher or an employee or a businessman. The efficiency is directly dependent upon the brain's efficiency. That's why the body is designed by evolution to keep the brain as the most prioritized thing. I'm going to show some pictures of the brain by using the Institute of Human Anatomy source. I'm quite thankful for them. They've got wonderful pictures. I used to do this presentation with lots of brain line diagrams, but compared to that, the real brain 3D actual organ will give you much more insight. So some of you may know some basics. So we have got neurons. Neurons has got this cell body and an axon and which is covered by the myelin sheath, and there is a terminal synapse. These neurons have got dendrites, and this is the action potential. So if a neuron is completing here, it gives the neurotransmitter chemical signal, and the next neuron will take the signal to the next one. The brain waves, what we are going to use today to understand the mechanism behind the meditation, is depending on the measurement of this neurotransmitter action potential. So when there is a potential within one brain cell, it's not possible to measure. Only if that action potential travels from one cell to the other, we will be able to measure it by using the electroencephalogram. That's why it's important to know that action potential is the basis of the brain waves measurement. So this is the electroencephalogram. We can measure both temporal and spatial resolution, and we have further advanced functional magnetic resonance system and also the PET scans, which are available even in India now. So this is the brain. What is the basic anatomy of the brain? I'm sure most of you may have seen it at least in the form of a toy or some pictures, but this is the actual human brain, a cadaveric brain. So this is the front end of the brain, this is the back end, and the predominant area, it is known as cerebral cortex, and a small part of the brain behind, just place where I am touching and showing you, it is known as cerebellum. This is the cross section of the brain we are seeing from inside. Here we have seen the outside, here we are seeing from the inside. It's very important that you should understand these convolutions in the brain, which makes more surface area in the brain and helps us to hold more information. And if you follow my arrow, this small 5 millimeter thickness is known as gray matter. This is the main area where all the intelligence and all the necessity things happening. The whole thing after the gray area is known as white matter, where only the connections are happening. So the whole area of the thin 5 millimeter, it has got 7 layers within that, which is beyond the today's discussion. That's known as gray matter. The meditation is so vital in maintaining this gray matter thickness, and gray matter thickness is so vital in maintaining the intelligence, memory, prevention of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, etc. And here comes the limbic system. So this is an area of the thalamus, and apart from thalamus we have hippocampus, amygdala, which forms the limbic system, and it is covered by the cingulate gyrus, which can be divided into anterior cingulate gyrus and posterior cingulate gyrus. I understand for most of you, you may feel, doctor, this is absolutely beyond the necessity, and I don't think we can comprehend this. Possibly we are recording this session, so I wish you all to go through this small few terms in detail, so that at least we can confidently tell the next generation that this meditation works in this place, and this is how it improves the intelligence and it gives that emotional stability. So normally the frontal region, which is known as prefrontal cortex, is the one importance for thinking. So for example, I am doing this presentation because I've spent hours and hours in preparing it. So automatically, by using my prefrontal cortex, I'm able to think and talk. And there is no area for this emotional limbic system or amygdala to act, because I'm sitting in a room, the room is locked, I'm not going to be attacked by a lion or cheetah from outside. So that's why the limbic system is a bit quiet, and I'm able to focus and do the talking. So that's how the brain works. And in total, the brain got 86 billion neurons. And the back part of the brain, as you can see from the cerebellum, which is the small brain here, it is known as occipital cortex. When we see anything, the vision directly goes straight into the back of the brain, and back of the brain is the reason for interpreting the vision. So the vision is predominantly by the occipital region. And midway in the cerebral cortex, it's known as temporal cortex. That's very important for both speech and also hearing. You can easily remember it because hearing, the ears are almost in the region of the midway. So it helps in hearing, and also since we hear, we speak. So speech area is also there. As I said, in the neurons, when the nerves transmit the action potential from one nerve to another, it creates that waves. The waves can be measured by the frequency. You can see that this is a less frequency and this is of more frequency, bit of like a packed waves. It also measured by the amplitude, which is the height of the waves. Now, this is a diagram many of you are very familiar, because we tend to use this waves and types of brain waves in our classes quite frequently. This is the basis of understanding the science behind the meditation. So the wave starts from low frequency to high frequency, delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma. If you are a teacher, if you want to use this in your students, in your classes, it's very easy to remember. Delta is for the brain waves 0 to 4 frequency. Frequency means number per second. Okay, so it is like 1 second. In this 1 second, there is like only one wave. That is the frequency. Okay, so it's 0 to 4 per second. Theta is 4 to 8. It's in the multiple of 4. Alpha is 8 to 12. Beta is 12 to 20. A slight change. It's not 12 to 16. It's 12 to 20. And gamma is 20 to 100 or even 140. Every wave has got its own specificity, and if you understand that, if you are able to do the meditation in a very nice deep manner, you yourself will understand that, okay, today possibly I've reached this level of brain waves, etc. Let's start from the lowest frequency, delta range, 1 Hz to 4 Hz. In the delta range, there is no role for the prefrontal cortex, because prefrontal cortex means thinking. For example, now I am talking. When somebody thinks what we are going to do next, what is to cook today, what movie to see tomorrow for Sunday, what to do for Monday, then that's thinking. Once the thinking happens, your frequency is very high and it's not delta. So this delta, very mild waves, happens only in the posterior part, in the medial side of the hospital. That's why this part is labeled. Why it is important is, if you understand this and then do the meditation, say for example Agna meditation, you are trying to focus on the eyebrow, between the two eyebrows. As you are focusing on the Agna meditation, suddenly a thought will come. And from today onwards, if you understand, feel this and do it in your meditation, you can see that the focus has gone outside to a surface of your brain. And then suddenly you will understand, oh my God, I need to focus on the Agna, why I am thinking about the electricity bill. And then if you get back to your Agna, you can see that the brain wave is flexing and getting back to your Agna. You can literally feel this. This is the most important scientific basis, where in the meditation we are trying to retract the waves from the prefrontal region, and whatever the small waves happens only in the back of the brain. And then some happens on the outside temporal occipital also. So delta waves are present only in quite advanced meditators, and I'm quite glad to get associated to few people, and I'm quite glad to have that experience also. And it can happen with the Yoga Nidra practice or our Maharishi's relaxation. In Tamil it's known as Udal Talarvu. If properly, nicely relaxed, you will reach this delta wave stage. This is a stage where a part of the thalamus, amygdala, limbic system known as hippocampus is nicely quietened. Hippocampus area is the one which helps in memory. The reason why hippocampus helps in memory is to make you not to make the mistake again. So once you're learning to drive, if somebody teaches you that red means stop, green means go, then those kind of memory things are held in the hippocampus so that it makes you safe when you're driving. So the hippocampus is nicely energized. Your memory potential is so good. That's why people say sometimes if you do a good audious meditative practice like the 10 days retreat, what I explained, you will be reaching a meditative state to the level you will get the memory of even the last birth and previous generations. But we are not interested to go to that level. We wish to have a good, enlightened present life so that we will be a good citizens. That's what the Maharishi's hopes are. Maharishi always wishes the people to become good citizens so that they will have a good family life, and he never tried or propagated a person to push to the extreme to the level of leaving the family, entering into a monkhood, etc. That's why we call him as a people's leader, people's Maharishi. The next is a theta wave. As I said, theta is 4 to 8 hertz. And there are plenty of neuroscience evidences in the theta waves, as I said, in human hippocampus, for example. And theta waves happens in the prefrontal cortex. That's where the thinking happens. So when the thinking happens, that's in the region of the theta wave. If it is like 1 or 2 occasional thoughts in your meditation of maybe like 30 minutes, that is theta wave, and you can control it. You can let it go, and you can make your brain into a calmer delta wave, or you can go even much deeper, quietening the delta wave also, which I'll be touching up in the end. And in the theta wave, when the thought happens here, as I said, you will be able to feel that expansion. If you're really focusing on the Agna meditation and doing it, you can see that expansion happening. And then you want to relax and let the thought go and get back to the Agna. If you get back to the Agna, The actual process of getting back and leaving the thought happens in this cingulate gyrus. Since it is in the front of the brain, it is known as anterior cingulate gyrus. The back of the brain is known as posterior cingulate gyrus. I know the terminologies are difficult, but it's only 3 or 4 terminologies. Frontal lobe, anterior cingulate gyrus, limbic system, or amygdala. Just remember these 3 or 4 sentences that will really empower you to become a good teacher of speaking meditation with science. So this anterior cingulate gyrus is just like your biceps muscle. If I take some dumbbell and if I do some exercises, my biceps muscles become nice and strong. It's almost similar to that. Every time you have a thought and the thought happening in the prefrontal cortex, you let the thought go away and relax and come back to your ajna for meditation. The organ which helps you to do that is known as the anterior cingulate gyrus. That's what mentioned here. You're indirectly strengthening the anterior cingulate gyrus from outside to inside. So anterior cingulate gyrus can communicate from inside to outside or outside to inside. So if you perform this action of focusing and strengthening the anterior cingulate gyrus, inward energy travel, slowly the life will become calm, peaceful, etc. Because the reason for the apprehension or a kind of dissatisfaction in the life is due to the limbic system, amygdala, etc., which gives a kind of a painful or fearful stimulus via the anterior cingulate gyrus into the prefrontal cortex in this direction. During the meditation, we are working in the opposite direction. So a person who is meditating maybe like 30 minutes a day, twice a day, or 5 hours a day, the brain becomes calm. They may be having the same fear, a financial challenge, a disease challenge, a family problem, but it won't bother them as frequent because the anterior cingulate gyrus is supposed to take it from the limbic system to the prefrontal is working in the opposite way during the meditation. It's a very, very perfect way of understanding that if somebody is asking you how meditation will solve the problem, will it give me 1 lakh rupee to pay my debt? It won't give you 1 lakh rupee, but it will at least remove that bogging sensation of I'm struggling, I have this debt, I need to do this, that under the background music indirectly. That is nicely stabilized so that you have more energy, and the energy usage by the brain itself will come down because energy doesn't have to think too many things, and instead of 20% of cardiac output and energy to be used by the brain, there will be surplus of energy, and that's why you feel energized, and that energy can be used in the rest of the body for apoptosis, cleaning, etc. So indirectly it helps in protecting from cancer or any metabolic illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, etc. So I can link every disease to the meditation to see how it helps indirectly or directly. So next is the alpha wave and beta wave. As I said, alpha is like 8 to 12 and beta is like 12 to 20. There is no point in taking these categorical waves. You need to understand that if the thoughts increases, the frequency or the conduction of the waves increases. That's what is demonstrated in this wave pattern. As I said, beta wave is something similar to the isotonic contraction in the muscle, and beta waves can be achieved even when you're talking, when you're listening to me. You can sit calmly and listen every word what I say. Say for example, now I'm talking for now 10-20 minutes now. So people may be thinking like how much you are able to grasp. So do this with a kind of an absolute volition that I will get everything from this presentation. That is the beta wave. That gives you the nice focused one. Even a good walking meditation can give you that beta waves. Gamma waves are the focused learning. Sometimes when you do Agna meditation or Turiya meditation, when you are focusing on one point, you may be getting this gamma waves, which is very nicely noted in various meditative practitioners. It helps to blind all the color, form, texture, what we are seeing outside. And gamma waves are very common in peak experience. Suddenly some people maybe after meditation will feel a kind of an absolute joy, absolute peakness of satisfaction and thing which you can't even explain by your words. Those are due to the gamma waves. As you see in these publications, the evolution of mammalian brain, our brain has a very close relation with the other animal's brain. All these limbic system are all present in a very old reptilian brain, and if you see, the human brain is nicely evolved with this cortex. That's what we call it as Aindam Arivu, or the sixth sense or fifth sense, where you are able to perform much better than any other animals, while the basic primitive brain is almost similar. So what fear a deer may have had centuries ago in the forest fighting against a cheetah and lion, we still have the same fearful feeling. But it's up to us to train the brain waves to think appropriately and not to get overtly worried with things happening around us. So this is a nice picture of the full limbic system, amygdala, which nicely shrinks once a meditation happens clearly, anterior cingulate gyrus, and then hippocampus, etc. And so this is the anterior cingulate gyrus, which works by making the brain from the prefrontal cortex to get back to the amygdala, which gives you that calm feeling during the meditation. Meditation is now, in the past 30 years, got into the cover page of the eminent journals like Scientific American. Plenty of publications are happening, and I've got, I will say, 100 publications in this presentation alone, but I'm not going to go through the presentations in detail. I will go through the main things so that we are keeping up with the time. Please let me know when it's 5 minutes to finish. Mindfulness meditation, this whole technique consists of attention control, emotion regulation, and self-awareness. So when you're doing Agna, you should be aware of the Agna. When you're doing Turiya, you should be aware of the Turiya, which results in self-regulation. Early stage, to sit for meditation itself, there is a lot of effort. We need to effortfully plan to come and sit. And then the middle stage, the effort to sit is okay. You're able to sit every day possibly, but when you're sitting, the mind will keep on wandering and you may feel, oh, I sat for half an hour, but thousands of thoughts. I don't think I had a good meditative experience. And once you practice this again and again, as I said, once you stimulate the anterior cingulate gyrus, you should be able to reach the advanced stage of effortless sitting and effortless being also. So it consists of 4 stages, NEWS. N is the narrative stage, where your brain narrates continuously, do this, do that, that's a plan, what's Sunday, what's on Monday, etc. This narrative experience. The second one is just experience what is happening around that. Like for example, in the satsang, experience only the satsang. Don't worry about anything, phone switched off, etc. Then W stands for witnessing, where you feel like, okay, I'm taking this body, I'm taking this mind to witness this satsang, as if the mind and body are your slaves. And the S stands for selfless, the final stage where you will completely understand that you are not even yourself. That's the samadhi stage. There are lots of challenges in the meditation research, mainly because the people always publish the results in a very positive manner. And as I said previously in various research group meetings in Aliyas, we should not always publish the good positive things. If 100 people come for meditation, if 80 people got good improvement, that itself is a good news. It doesn't mean that 20 people are having the bad result. It means that 20 people require much more closer attention and closer practice. And imaging, CT scans, PET scans, MRI are the main thing. And these are all the distant articles comparing the meditators and non-meditators, what is happening in the brain cortical thickness, what is happening in the gray matter density, and you can see the improvements. Every paper says only positivity of the meditation. There is not many papers explaining the disadvantage of the meditation. It's a bit of a overselling. But in essence, we should understand what is what. We should understand where the changes are happening, and that is the only way you can physiologically make a very good, healthy human being. So it reduces your oxygen intake need, reduces your respiratory rate. It really conserves lots of meditation related energy. It reduces your heart rate. It treats indirectly hypertension and also, for example, the problems like stroke. And it improves the blood flow to the non-kidney and non-hepatic organs. It improves the blood flow up to 44% in meditators compared to 12% in the control group. It reduces sympathetic activity, so the unnecessary fight and fear episodes are less. It decreases the cortisol, which is the hormone responsible for the fearfulness and also indirectly for aging, etc. And EEG is a good way of measuring. Lots of publications happened explaining the altered brain structure. I don't want to go through this because this slight repetition only. And how many more minutes we have, please?
Sir, actually it's 7:22 now, Indian time. You can take some more time, sir.
5 minutes, is it okay?
It's going so interestingly.
Okay.
Even 10-15 minutes you can.
You can please go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Please go ahead for another 15 minutes.
All right.
Thank you. That will be very good. So here you can see that published article telling us that what changes are happening in the brain. As I said, in the prefrontal cortex, the area where helps us to a lot of thinking, it improves the introspection. See, the introspection word is used in so much of publications, which was one of our Maharishi's Agattaivu. And also metacognition. You're able to understand things going to happen in a kind of a wider manner. If somebody comes to your house to give a wedding invitation explaining that my daughter and son are going to get married, not in a bad way, but you will get a kind of an intuition that whether the couple is going to live good, bad, is there anything going to happen. It doesn't mean you're going to be a bad person stopping something, but it gives you that metacognition, the ability with historically called as siddhis. All those things, now there is a scientific basis behind it. All those film which we enjoy, which possibly I enjoyed as a child, like this Ramayana, Mahabharata, where people are using a lot of magical trends in both in the life and also in the war, etc. All those magics were absolutely proven because we have the ability, the brain has got the ability. And the main thing is the limbic system has got good awareness, good emotional self-awareness. It doesn't mean you will go to the level of ignoring something. The same depth will be there, the same problem will be there, but you will be able to handle it in such a beautiful way that this person had the same problems, but he handled it so calm manner and resolved it, while the other person who is a non-meditator will really break the head for small things. You can see that in a very seasoned meditators, and our Maharishi is one of the best example for that. And as I said, the cingulate process, anterior cingulate cortex, is the main thing which helps in focusing and problem solving and resolving. That's the structure we are strengthening during the meditation. And every brain wave, you can see that even in this publication from Neuroscape, they also felt initially you will be feeling about the breath like our Nadi Sutti and then the meditation period, and slowly everything ending up into world peace. You will be forgetting you'll be thinking about how the world can be a peaceful place. Is it not the exact same way our Maharishi also thought about it? If you travel with the meditative practice with an appropriate guidance, at one point you will reach so much of satiety and self-satisfaction. You won't be thinking about what is my next spiritual stage. You will be thinking only like how we can make this world a very calm, porilla nallulagam, what Maharishi used to say. So that is the same thing now proven in a science article, that if you travel in this spiritual path, you will reach the word peace. It is proven by univariate and multivariate functional MRI, the changes which were happened during the meditative practice, and the journal maintaining, where people are able to note down the changes what they feel inside, and they are able to track the changes in the brain for the whole 10-20 years of the practice and see with proof with CT scans that it is a provable one. And the meditators and controls, the waves, everything is followed up for quite a long time in many publications. So that gives us a bit of a lots of reassurance that meditation is no more kind of a practice with belief. It's a practice which has got a lot of sense to it. The things what I'm explaining in the form like the brain will change, the cortical thickness will improve, the gray matter will improve, the mental clarity will improve. It is known as neuroplasticity. How to remember this? Elasticity, the best example is the rubber band. So if you stretch the rubber band, it's an elastic band. If you leave it, it will come back to its original state. But if you take a plastic spoon or anything and if you put it in fire, the plastic spoon deforms, becomes black, charred, and it will never come back to the plastic spoon. That is known as plasticity. The plasticity, the same plasticity is happening in the brain. So the brain changes to the new state, a new improved state, and never go back to the old thin, high apprehensive state. So that is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is a word which is researched and used everywhere. But the only way you can use the word neuroplasticity to your students, to your colleagues and children is with good examples that neuroplasticity is so proven. And this is one of the very good example where one person has got what is a disease known as hemianopia. Hemianopia means this person's right side of the vision is gone. Both the eyes were working, but this eye's right side, this eye's right side. The right side of the vision is gone. And with appropriate measures, when this shows the right side, this shows the left side. When they keep an object on the right side, he is able to identify them correctly all throughout. No problem at all. Any of you, if I put a thumbs up on the right side visual field, you can say, okay, the thumb is there, it is so much of distance from your eyes. But for a person who has got the blindness on the one side, even on that side, if an object is kept, they are able to identify it. That's so good is the brain. The problem is now they are labeling it as a thinking disease. Too much of thinking, too much of analyzing, too much of problems. And the easiest way for the research students is avoiding the type 1 and type 2 error. So why human beings start so pessimistically thinking about the negative things, thinking about only the negative things, and most of you are well settled economically possibly and maybe getting towards the target, but why we always have that background, a kind of a dull, low feeling? It's because evolutionarily our ancestors lived in forest. Say for example in that ancient stage, man is going for hunting and sitting to get some boar or a deer or something like that. Suddenly there is a kind of rattling noise in one of the bush. So his brain should think, is it a snake? Is it a tiger? Only if he thinks in that order, he will climb up the tree or get into a safe place, etc. and his body is preserved and he will be living longer. If he thinks, oh, it's only a rattling of the leaves, then there is a good possibility it may be a snake which he may bite him or a lion can even eat him. So the brain is used to kind of magnify the negative things to enable that person to have a long, healthy life. But this protective mechanism itself has gone to the other extreme where now we get so frightened by unnecessary things to an unnecessary amount. That's a problem. There is nothing wrong in getting kind of an upset with small things in a measured manner. So somebody may be traveling, for example, one of your relative may be traveling from India to America by flight next month. Oh, I wish them to be in travel. I wish them not to get lost in the transit. So much of unnecessary negativity because that is what happening for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years and our brain is wired for it. And our Maharishi has given such a good meditative process which reduces that negative vibration, makes us to think positive, and this Vaithum Payanum by saying verbally and also mentally by heart Valga Valamudan, we are creating that positive aura. Number one, they may be traveling safely and coming to you even without anything. But by doing this, the chances of them reaching safely to America or going back to India will be much more sustained and proven. The same thing, why somebody is getting addicted to say alcohol or coffee? Because it makes them a bit lighter that negative emotions are not rising up as high during that alcohol or the coffee episode, so they feel a bit relaxed. But the problem is this coffee and alcohol gives only a temporary relief, and once the coffee metabolized and alcohol goes away by the metabolism, the things are coming back with much more headache, which we all know. While meditation not only relaxes that negative thinking and gives us a bit of a calm life, it also keeps a very long standard outcome, capacity to bear the bad experience, and the intensity of the bad experience also nicely improves. So it gives us a kind of an experiential approach to the day-to-day problem, becoming less self-focused, accepting the change and enjoy the present moment. And I will try to show this CT scan which shows that people who are long time meditators have seen that amygdala itself is nicely shrunken, and that shows that the chances of them getting into unnecessary fearful episodes are so less, and just by 8 weeks of mindful training. Look at the way our Maharishi has given a lifetime practice and how proud and how bold we should be to propagate this in the life. So thoughts are not facts, thoughts are that thoughts, that kind of perspective. Okay, I got this thought, it's okay. For example, I tend to walk from my home to my office. So when I start walking, I try to think about Maharishi's, this Vaidtumpayanam and introspection, what happened in the past one day, etc. When I'm reflecting on myself, something will come, like I'm having a challenging patient coming for surgery in 10 days time, how to approach him. If he gets, it may be a high-fi patient like a minister or somebody like that. So if he gets into a small complication also, it's difficult. Some thoughts will come. So I will say there's no point in thinking about it now. It's 10 days to go. So let me take his CT scans and plan the surgery in an appropriate way. So I will tell my brain, don't give me this thought till I finish walking to the hospital. And it happens. It happens because not I'm telling that on the time, it's because of the meditative practice. During meditation, when the thought comes, over the years, almost I'm doing it, I met Maharishi 2004. So almost going to be now 20 years. So 20 years of meditation where thought comes, we relax and make it relaxed and into the agna. Thought comes, we allow it to let it pass. So repeated practice for 20 years makes ourselves to behave. We can control the brain on what to think and what not to think. And if somebody is interested to get some quantitative idea, now what I'm saying is subjective, what I feel I'm saying. But these kind of headbands, which gives us a kind of a miniaturized electroencephalogram, it gives us an objective reading of what is happening in the brain. That's another scientific advancement. I will complete my talk with this end. It is about samadhi. Maharishi didn't discuss this too much, but he did discuss about few things like, for example, Sukshma Payanam, etc., where people were able to calm their mind into an absolute stable stage where they can able to travel from place to place. Now, possibly we may not have an experienced person within us to teach it like how Maharishi has did. But people have proven that this EEG mental waves can be absolutely quietened and reach that samadhi stage, and they can come out of it at their will. So during that phase, they can decide 90 minutes I'm going to quieten my mind. There should not be any thinking. After 90 minutes, I'm happy to wake up. And they have proven it in the science journals, quite a recent one, 2023, last year, where a person is able to quieten it and only the brain waves will get quietened. Because the brain waves are quietened and he is in a sitting posture, the heart rate, respiratory rate, everything will be like a bare minimum. And before going to that samadhi state, he instructs the brain, I need to come out at 90 minutes. 1 day, 6 days. They have done up to 7 days where by the clock, exactly 7th day, say 9 a.m., the heart rate slowly increases and the body wakes up, the mind also wakes up, and then the consciousness comes. So the waking up, not like he wakes up and then he makes his brain and body to wake up. The body and brain wakes up and then the consciousness comes. So what's happening is, one thing is definitely proven. our body and our brain are instruments, just like a car, mixie, grinder, what you have in your house. Use it as an instrument to create a very peaceful atmosphere in your family, in the world, in a very comfortable manner, and don't get succumbed to over anxious stimulus given by the brain. And only way to reach this is our Maharishi's various methods of meditation. Simple meditation like Agna, Turiya will help us to kind of self-focus, while the meditations like Panchabhuta Navagraha Davam makes us to think so wide, and it gives us a kind of a nice wide feeling of encompassing empathy and also love among the whole universe, not just the earth alone. We can prove this with lots of other scientific experiments like double slot experiment. Again, the issue is the time, and double slot experiment itself will take at least another 15 minutes to explain where how an observer, a thought changes the perception and changes the activities happening. So indirectly speaking, lot of negative things or lot of mishappenings in our life, like somebody not studying well, somebody getting into a bad marriage, maybe because of our own apprehension and our own bad thoughts. If we follow Maharishi's every principle like introspection, various forms of meditation, and also auto suggestion, and also the practice of the Vargu Valabudan, everything will add up not to create a good human being alone, to create a good family and good community for the world. This will give us the holistic wellness where physical, spiritual, emotional, intellectual, financial health is all maintained in a very nice equilibrium. I presented the same thing yesterday in Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh for 2 hours. It's a complete 2-hour session starting from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock with lots of questions, but because of the time, I'm not getting too much in depth into the articles and those things, which possibly may be a bit overwhelming for this group. Thank you, Varga Valabudan, for the opportunity. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.